Eden Kaz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at edenjustbe.com. And let's get this party started. Okay, so we can start with this. Let me think about it. All right. And y'all know. Ooh, oh, little hot flash there. Woo! Eden, Just Be Spiritual Boom. Welcoming back Pia and Cullen for the 5th time. Y'all say hello, please.
Hello, Eden. Hello, listeners and viewers. Delighted to be here with you.
We are always happy to have this incredible discussion that we have with you. We've told you this before, on and off the air. You are one of our favorite interviewers, and we love the interchange that takes place.
Thank you. I'm so touched because we are potentially going to get serious about 5G and AI. I'm going to go through the little rigmarole and introduce you guys to, and for folks that really enjoy this today, go back in the podcast, because again, if you like Pia and Cullen and Laarkmaa, you can get more. I just watched a podcast that you guys were on where there was a spiritual interviewer, and there are always layers of knowledge, and y'all talked about 5G and she had no idea about it. So I thought that was really interesting because there are so many things to know about what's going on in terms of the Great Awakening. Yet 5G is a really big aspect, as well as AI. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So husband and wife, both PhDs, Pia Orleane and Cullen Baird Smith, Interstellar, communicators, writers, visionaries, intuitives. Pia being a former psychologist, Cullen trained in anthropology and archaeology, respectively. Together, and it has to be both of them, which we've talked about in the past, they bring wisdom from the stars from a group of Pleiadian light beings known as Laarkmaa. These two, decades of beautiful work and commitment to the earth and humanity. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think you covered it.
You did.
Okay, so getting into 5G, I'm just going to turn it over to you guys for a minute. Tell folks what you know, and I'll ask questions.
Go ahead.
Well, this is a very, very deep and complicated subject matter. Historically, 5G is simply the newest iteration, the newest invention of cellular phone communication. We started out years and years ago. Generation 1 was generation 1. We moved to generation 2, and the communication in those days was really sketchy. I mean, cell phone reception wasn't very good. When it jumped from G2 to G3, it got much more serious, and the amplitude of the EMF waves was amped up remarkably, and people began to feel strange. They began to have symptomologies. They began to have problems. When it jumped from 3 to 4, which we're still right. Many people are not currently actually using 5G. It's available, but either their servers or their particular phones aren't really 5G yet. But it is available to many, many, many people around the world. The problem is 5G is so much stronger than all the other levels. It's a different pulsed system of energy. It's much stronger. It has a completely different effect on the human body. And I like to use the word pernicious. Pernicious simply means deadly and harmful. 5G is harmful to any living being or structure.
And I would like to go backwards a little bit in explaining this. There is a wonderful book out there called The Invisible Rainbow that documents how every single time we have increased the radio frequency or the bandwidth of the radio waves on this planet, through starting with telegraphs and telegrams to telephones and on up to what Cullen was just describing, the initial cell phones and all the way to the 5G. Every time we had a boost in that technology, there was a plague of some sort. Swine flu was one. There's been something each time that's been aligned with a demonstrable evidence that there's something going on that makes the human organism sick. So it's documented evidence that shows how and why. What hasn't been written about quite as much, and people are turning a blind eye to, is what 5G actually does to the human body, the animal body, the plant kingdom. In our bodies, 5G makes the oxygen that we have that is in our bodies spin in the opposite direction of the way it's needed. So therefore, we cannot get the energy we need from cell to cell to make our bodies function correctly. People are feeling extreme fatigue and they don't know why. That's the major symptom that's coming across. Disrupted sleep, disrupted digestive system, headaches, dizziness, balance problems, all kinds of real problems are coming that people don't know it's coming from 5G, because these satellites, whether you have a 5G phone or not, are circling all the time. Heat surges, all of a sudden you feel really, really hot for no reason. 5G is not really about having better cellular communication. That's not the reason it was invented. Want to talk about that?
Well, it was sold as a new idea, a new mechanism, so that we would have broader bandwidth for computers through the internet and better cell reception. And as Pia just hinted, that is not the case. 5G is an engineered, I don't know how to say this simply. 5G enhances surveillance. It is a mechanism that actually helps those who want to know what all of us people are doing around the world. And there are so many examples. I could talk about this for days, honestly, and I have to be really careful to shorten what I have to share, because I can go on tangents that will take up this entire interview. Things that are connected between AI and 5G are tremendous.
Yes.
Everybody who happily bought a widescreen, flat, tubeless television is being surveilled. Samsung, one of the largest flat screen television manufacturers in South Korea, admitted 2 years ago that they have a surveillance capability where they know by visually watching through the screen and microphoned through the screen, they can hear and see what's going on in the rooms in everyone's homes of what's going on. This was an astonishing admission by a huge international corporation to actually tell the truth. That connection of these devices, it's also true for all 5G cellular phones. They actually, when I say they, I mean the companies that manufacture these things and then sell the information to whomever wants to buy the information, whether that's a government, whether that's a corporation. This surveilled information is available for purchase by people who want to know what we're doing. And this goes into every part of society. Advertising.
Yep.
Advertising is being completely sublimated and completely controlled by what they know we want. And everybody has this experience, Eden. If you dial up something on your computer, a product, within 5 minutes, similar products will show up on your computer through advertising that you didn't ask to be shown on your computer screen, which proves immediately that this is all being watched. This is all being controlled. It's a scary situation.
We've been pre-programmed to accept this so that we didn't really understand as a species what was happening to those controllers, what they were doing to us. We've been programmed to listen to higher authority, listen to the medical community, listen to the government, your doctor, your parents, your educational system.
Oh, excuse me. Don't forget religion.
Religion, your religion, absolutely. We've been programmed that there are no answers and no wisdom within us because we're just miserable little, to use the Christian terminology, sinners. Sinner, by the way, means someone who makes a mistake, and we make our best learning by making mistakes, which is something that we should embrace. Oh, we made a mistake. Let's learn from it and move forward. Anyway, we've been programmed that we cannot have divine connection with source, that we cannot rely on our own intuition, our own heart wisdom, or even our own thinking and cognitive abilities. We have to go to an outside source to tell us what to do. This programming has led us to accept whatever government, religion, and the medical community tell us to do. When 5G was first implemented here, we were in the middle of what was called a COVID pandemic, being told that we had to be in isolation so that we couldn't watch what they were doing when they put up the 5G towers. But if you go back and look, all those videos of people dropping in the streets in Wuhan and in Italy, Milan, Italy, are all the two primary first startup 5G cities. Cullen wrote an article at that time that we can give you the link for. It's called Technovirus, about what the real virus really is, letting people know we are being manipulated and controlled by something that's making us sick, that is not viral in nature.
This is something that is well known. There's so much documented, both anecdotal and scientific information about the COVID pandemic. With our combined research and the people that we think of as colleagues around the world, we have sifted through hundreds, if not thousands, of documents talking about what really happened during COVID. Was there really a virus? Was there really something that scared everybody almost to death? And I mean that term, almost to death. When I wrote the blog or the paper that I entitled Technovirus, what I did was I made it very clear that the people that Pia just explained, in especially Wuhan, China, and Milan, Italy, and Perth, Australia, and there are a number of other cities around the world where 5G was rolled out more significantly than other places. When there were videos showing people falling down in the streets, it was said that these people have a biological virus. Unfortunately, we weren't being told the truth. These people were falling down because they weren't getting enough oxygen because of what Pia explained. 5G was making it impossible for the amount of oxygen necessary for the cells in our body to work not only normally, but to communicate with each other, which they do billions of times a day. I'm going to say something very serious and very well documented. There was no COVID pandemic. It was a complete and absolute fraudulent financial controlling thing that went on. Pia touched on this a moment ago. I want to elaborate a little bit. We were told that we had to wear masks. We were told we couldn't touch. Children weren't able to go to school. People weren't able to go to work. The reason all that happened is they were rolling out 5G. They were putting up towers in schools, in hospitals, in government buildings. They did not want the general public to know that 5G was being implemented. That is the only reason. There is so much documented proof about this. That is the only reason why we were told you must stay home. If you don't stay home, you will get sick and you will probably die. It was a completely set up economic and surveillance situation. And I just read an article 2 days ago in a reputable magazine that outlines why masks didn't work. There is no medical, empirical, or intelligent proof that surgical masks kept a so-called virus in check, that it kept us from giving it to each other. Surgical masks don't do that. Viruses and bacteria are so tiny, they can penetrate cloth, they can penetrate paper. The whole thing about masks was simply a
Separation.
way, it was a way of keeping us separated and a way for companies to make billions of dollars selling these useless masks.
I want to tie in AI to what we're talking about here with 5G, but before I do, there's a faction of people who will say, well, people did get sick from a virus, but if you look at what really happened, the people who actually got sick were sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, all right. You're all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
The people who actually got sick were the people who were injected with a fake vaccine, or people who had been around someone who'd been injected, because the graphene oxide and other toxic materials that were put in that injection is what actually caused the viral symptoms. So those who say, but I really got sick, or I know somebody who died, or whatever it is, yes, that did happen. But the ultimate thing was it was started because of 5G, and then they introduced the fake vaccine to inject harmful material into people. Now, what I wanted to take it into about AI, do you want to say something first?
Well, I just want to follow you up. We're not saying that viruses don't exist. We're not saying bacteria does not exist. I myself personally have had bacterial and viral pneumonia in my life. I know that I got sick. This is decades before COVID. But we want to be really careful here, not to say that people didn't get sick, people died, but there's a distinction between the fact that this earth is so polluted that every fall, when these viruses and these bacteria occur, people do get sick, but it wasn't COVID, it was the flu. But because our bodies are so depleted because of the general atmosphere of pollution, more people are getting sick every year because their immune systems aren't able to carry off the viruses and the bacteria as they were normally designed to do. So I want to make sure your listeners know that we're not saying viruses and bacteria don't exist. They do, but not in the way we were sold over the past 3 years. Go ahead.
So
May I interrupt for a second too?
Yeah.
Just to add, when we talk about surveillance, and an old podcast, when you really start to look at how many cameras are around, you will be astounded. Like here, you go into Home Goods or TJ Maxx, and there's a video screen when you're checking out that states, "Oh, the screen is up for your protection." I'm in friggin' Home Goods. What are you going to protect me from? And I also, as we continue to go down the rabbit hole, iRobot, I think one of the cleaners that, this little robot that cleans your carpet, I saw a video that potentially there's a camera in that too, where people can see what you're doing. So as I'm sitting here in front of my computer and your phone, everything is set up to see you. And again, marketing and advertising, yes, but there's so much more to that. And then I wanted to add, which is very interesting as we talk about 5G, when you start looking at the massive number of towers, you will be amazed at where they are, how many they are. And when I look at them too, with all the little, I don't know what they're called, the plates, put like they're plates here, and there's another layer of plates here. So this is serious stuff, good stuff to know. So please continue.
So the tie-in between what I said earlier about artificial intelligence and AI, being the same as connected to 5G is really important, because not only will we train to accept the next generation of better cell service, which is not what 5G is about, as we've already explained, we've also been simultaneously entrained into believing that there is a metaverse out there that we can attune into and do what Klaus Schwab wants us to do: be happy and you'll own nothing and be happy with it. You know, that whole idea of turning us into some sort of avatar where we don't exist in a human condition of duality, where there is pain and suffering and joy and bliss, which is part of being human. That's been pre-programmed into us to the degree that there are kids these days who believe they can actually become their avatar through playing certain games to fully escape the human experience. So in doing this to pre-program us to accept artificial intelligence as part of who we are, it makes us prone to being able to accept, oh, let's have Alexa do this and that for me. Oh, let's have iRobot clean my carpet. Oh, it's all right to have AI make all these decisions for me. I don't have to use my brain at all. So even Facebook, one of the biggest spy tools on the planet, now has been turned into a different name, and it's all about the metaverse.
Can you talk more about Meta? Because you do see, like, whenever you pull up Facebook, Meta is there. So, okay, and you might even be explaining it. So maybe I'm asking a question. So Metaverse is moving into this AI programming. Is that what it's all about, essentially?
Metaverse is exactly about that. It's disconnecting from the human condition, disconnecting from each other, and joining into an artificial environment where we focus on our consciousness as being artificial also. We're no longer biological human beings. We are now consciousness associated with, affiliated with, wedded to artificial intelligence.
Where we can do anything we want. We can have superhuman powers. One of the things that's the hook for the metaverse is, if I can be my avatar self, which is a totally artificial construct, I can have superpowers. I can be a Superman or a Superwoman. I can fly. I can crush things. I can do all these wonderful things that I see on the movie screen.
Movies.
It's a total hype. It's a total sell job to trick people into thinking that I can have a better life that's not my human biological life, as Pia said.
So it takes people away from understanding and recognizing the specialness each of us has as an individual by trying to ascribe to something that's completely imaginary. When Mark Zuckerberg turned the name of Facebook into Meta, he actually was aligning people's consciousness with the avatar system of, you can become artificial and you can have nothing and be happy too. It's all connected, and it's connected with 5G, because 5G can now program things when they're beaming out information to make you think a certain way.
I'm glad you brought up Facebook, because when social media started really getting going about 20 years ago, I dug my heels in and said, no, I'm not interested. My intuition says this won't work. Pia and I avoided it for years. We dabbled in it for a little while. We realized how really insidious it is, and we totally stepped away from it. But one thing I want to explain to your audience is Facebook was designed by the US military. The Air Force invented what Facebook is today. And on the very day that the military decided to drop away from, they didn't call it Facebook, it had a secret name. And there's no need for me to bring it up because it's no longer a reality. But the very day that the US government / Air Force decided not to use Facebook, they were moving on to a higher level of surveillance. Guess what? That very day, Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook. He bought the rights for Facebook from the military government of the United States. It is a completely military designed program. People don't know this. People think it's a wonderful social media thing where I get to look at my friends, talk to my friends. It is so much more than that. It is so much darker, deeper, and insidious than simple social media.
Can I bring up one point to that? Which
Yes.
again, there's so much censoring going on. So I'm on some social media platforms right now. So I just post things like this and then get off of it. So I'm still participating in it in a way. Well, I'm still participating in it. It was so interesting. So I posted something about baking soda and the natural greatness of baking soda. So Facebook said no, took it off. So I was befriended by someone, and there was this woman on there, and there was just this major sexual picture that I saw. I'm like, okay, let me investigate this further. Went to her page. I mean, it was hardcore stuff just right there in the open. So it was so like, I knew this, but it was just not that it was funny. Yet, you know, my little baking soda post was taken down. But then there was this show of just overt sexuality that was just there, that wasn't, oh, this is too much or censored or anything. It was just like, it was one of those things I knew, yet it was shocking to see in person.
We understand sometimes when we're doing research,
yeah,
and we're looking for something like what you just described will come on the screen, and it's shocking beyond understanding that that something that is that unacceptable to certain people who have a moral understanding of what should be aired and what shouldn't, whether there are children involved watching, what doesn't matter what it is. But yes, we have that similar experience, and we are shocked that there is no censorship for that when there is for something that's helpful to people.
And
which makes sense.
If you click on that to see what it's all about, AI goes, ding, 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 you're interested. Let's send you more.
It's incredible. Can I go backwards for a moment?
Oh, of course.
There's another thing about EMFs that I would like to share.
So electromagnetic frequencies. All right.
Yep. Which all radio waves, radar, television waves,
computer,
cellular waves, the internet. It's all they're all EMFs. What people don't understand is that some simple devices like smart meters. Now, many people don't know about this, and I think everybody needs to know about it. Electrical companies that sell us electricity, which should be free in the first place, but it's not, we have to pay for it. In order to make more money, they invented smart meters so they don't have to send a man or a woman around in a pickup truck to read your meter. It's done electronically from the central switching office, wherever that is, in whatever the city, county, or state that electrical company operates in. They did this to save money because they don't have to pay humans to go around and read the meters. Well, the trouble with this is a smart meter is a very close cousin to 5G. And the EMF that creates the way that these companies can read your meter to figure out how much money that you owe them is deadly. People are having incredible symptoms from smart meters when they're put on people's houses.
Not only that, you can look at the plant life
that's where I'm going.
Around the smart meter.
That's where I'm going. Go ahead.
If you look at the plants that are growing around where a smart meter is, they all die.
all the trees and all the shrubs and all the flowering plants within a certain radius of each smart meter. And some apartment buildings or some commercial buildings have hundreds of smart meters attached to the outside wall. It's killing all of the vegetation because that particular EMF that's created is deadly. Now, if we take that a little further, we have noticed in our research that in certain parts of the world where 5G has been implemented, the city governments are cutting down trees in cities. We've seen it in London, we've seen it in Rome, we've seen it in other countries around the world and in the US. They're cutting these trees down before they die because these companies know that if they leave the trees in the line of where the smart meter EMFs are going to travel, those beloved ancient trees are going to die. And the public's going to ask, why did these trees die? We've looked at these trees for centuries. All of a sudden, they're dying. So they're cutting them down ahead of time. And neighborhoods are getting really hot under the collar because people love trees, but it's being done surreptitiously to make it impossible for a connection to be made that the EMFs created by not only 5G, but also the smart meters is killing the vegetation. There's so much stuff right there in front of our eyes, and we're not apparently willing to look at it and go, oh, I understand. This is what's happening. We need to put a stop to it.
So let me add into that because I wasn't aware of that piece yet. I know with smart meters as well, they can control, oh, you're using too much power, so we're going to shut it down. I mean, there's so much control within that, not talking about the effects on the world. Yeah, so I watched a video a while back, basically this guy saying, you don't have to get a smart meter, tell them no. So you also have the power to say no within that, unless you're moving into an apartment complex where it already exists. All right, what were you going to say, Cullen?
Yes and no, Eden. You have the right to refuse it, but it's not up to you. It's not up to the individual. If the company that's selling the electricity has a clause in an unseen contract that you never saw that states, we have the right to monitor the electricity coming into your home. Nobody ever signs one of these contracts, but they're there legally. Okay. They can say, actually, we have the right to install this because it's the newest, best technology, and your complaint isn't worthwhile. It's not realizable.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And that gets into smart homes as well. Smart homes.
Smart homes, cars,
smart cities.
Mm-hmm. So smart.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
When 4G came around, people started becoming aware, finally, about EMF dangers. And multiple companies have spread up around the world, have sprung up, giving you protective devices against the EMFs. However, the things that we have used, Somavedic in Europe, GeoCleanse in Australia, Blue Shield in England and America, these devices to help protect from EMF fields will not handle sufficiently 5G because 5G overrides the signal from these protective devices. There is now a company available, and I can send you the link for your viewers on this also, that has a product called Defense for Planet Earth that combats the entire environment around your home.
Did you say visible planet Earth?
Defense for Planet Earth.
Defense. Okay.
It protects the entire environment around your home, and it's a simple, very simple device that goes halfway in the ground, halfway to the sky, reconnecting in nature, air and earth together. You keep water around it at certain times to make sure that water is involved, and it helps bring harmony back to the environment, which neutralizes some of the effects that are coming in of this 5G and other toxicity entering in your planet, into your area that's coming on the planet. So I can send you the link of that for your viewers, but it's on the brighter side of all this doom and gloom we've been talking about. There is science from the light that's beginning to come up with things to say we can find ways to implement alternatives until we can get the 5G stopped, until we can eradicate all these harmful toxic things and change the pathway that we're on. We can at least provide some protection. So there is a light that I don't want people to go away from watching this and be just feeling hopeless. I don't want them to feel that way.
All right, because this is part of the Great Awakening, birth through chaos. It all needs to be, and for us to open our eyes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. That's just it. Just that this is one that I'm aware of, that I personally know the man who invented this, and he is a sweetheart. He is really wanting people to be healthy.
Do you think he would be on the show?
I don't know. I can ask him.
Okay, because that would be awesome as well. All right, please proceed.
I will ask him.
Okay.
But there will be others. There are many who are becoming awake and aware of the dangers of what's going on, or maybe like Cullen and me, they've been aware all along, but they didn't know what to do about it. But now things are being put into place to combat this path, to give us another alternative. So people need to know that there is hope, but we still need to take action to stop the negative things that are being forced on us.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. So it's been 2 months now that my elbows, I'm having a real issue with them, which has been really interesting. And then probably the past 3 weeks. So I saw this as potentially ascension symptoms, but it might be a combination of everything. And then just feeling some mornings waking up, feeling like I've been hit with a Mack truck. Like just like getting out of bed and like, am I 130 years old? Like every muscle and just like, and same with, I eat cleanly. Doing this higher ascended work. I'm in that every day. I'm very conscious of my thoughts. So what would y'all add to that?
Well, it's a great statement question. And we actually have a lot to say on this. And it could be, before Pia begins her ideas, I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
It's a combination of two things. Go ahead.
The two things are what we've been talking about the impact of being radiated or irradiated from the 5G, because we are receiving radiation poisoning from 5G. And if you can't get enough oxygen in your body, every muscle and joint in your body is gonna hurt. It just is. Bone pains are going to be common. Teeth problems and bleeding gums are going to be common. All of these symptoms we've been talking about from radiation are showing up because of the 5G. At the same time, we're going through a solar maximum that's at an accelerated rate. I don't know if your listeners know about solar minimum and solar maximum, but our sun goes through an 11-year cycle. And in the 11-year cycle, it gets cooler for 11 years, moving towards the solar minimum. And then it turns around and it gets warm again for 11 years for a solar maximum. We are now at the point of entering into a solar maximum that we're in year 2 of. And scientists are beginning to say it's going to max out in 3 years, possibly 4 at the most, because everything is ramping up so much. So we're also getting a huge influx of light and heat from the sun, which we consider that's to bring light into ourselves and help us in the ascension process.
From a spiritual point of view, that's great. But the problem is, as you said in your question statement, how do we tell if it's ascension symptoms because the sun is giving all of this extra energy to us, or is it the pollution that we're having to deal with? They're both radiation. They're just simply different kinds of radiation.
Negative and positive.
But because we're being bombarded simultaneously by both forms of radiation, one good, one not so good, our bodies don't know how to cope with this. We have never, as a species, never been subjected to this much radiation. It's never happened. Until approximately World War II, there were really few EMFs. As Pia stated much earlier in this discussion, the telegraph system and the phone system brought in the first EMFs really to planet Earth. They were invented through that kind of communication. But then as World War II came into its height, radar was invented. Radar is another EMF producer. And it goes on and on and on forward to now. So the man-made pollution through radiation is one thing, but the good radiation from the sun is positive, yet minutely destructive at the same time, because our bodies have never experienced both of these simultaneously or separately. So we're being hit with something that humanity has never experienced. In my work, I think we've been here as humans for about 3.2 million years. And we've never experienced this until 75 years ago. And people did not get sick to the degree that we're seeing since about the end of World War II. People were much healthier until the point of about the end of World War II. Our health picture as a species has gone downhill, down a slippery slope for all of these years since then. So there has to be a connection between over radiation and our general health picture.
Okay. And plus everything that's being pumped into the food. It's just like, kind of look at everything and just be like, oh my God, the food, the water, the air, the radiation. Yet we are going to make it through this, aren't we?
We will.
We are in a position of transforming. So to expect everything to be the way it was or go back to what we perceive as normal is irrational.
Okay, because it wasn't normal.
Exactly. You said something before we went on the air together. You used the word chaos. And this is absolutely the most chaotic experience humans, and it's not just us as humans, as a species, the plant kingdom, the insect kingdom, every kingdom is being affected by this. When you look at when 5G was introduced 3 years ago, the bee population, the frog population, the bird population has all been negatively affected since the beginning of the rollout of 5G. The bee colonies
and trees also.
Well, every living structure, every living organism is being affected. But if you look at the bee die-off statistics, there have been problems with bees forever. I mean, bees get sick. Bees are just like humans. Things happen to us. But if we look 3 years back to today, the levels of the I hope not the extinction of the bees, but the decline of the bees and the frogs and birds, it has escalated in 3 years in a way that we've never seen ever historically.
I have to bring up too, I have just had in the past 3 weeks, 5 of my houseplants die. And I love my plants. And suddenly that 5 of them just perished. I'm like going, what's going on?
We have similar experiences. We have a lot of lizard friends where we live. We have tons of lizards. In the past month or so, most of the lizards in our neighborhood have died. We're talking many, many lizards.
We're talking about within a week to 10 days period, finding dead lizards everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So finding their corpses, for lack of a better way of saying it.
And literally, like they've been fried.
And lizards are very, very good at surviving. Lizards can survive drought. Lizards can survive too much rain. Lizards are very, very adaptable anywhere in the world. Looking at this die-off of lizards in our own experience is a clue, just like your houseplants. There's something up that's changing life on this planet.
Man, are y'all cool moving into the just be practice and working on, because we've talked about some heavy stuff. And I mean, this is again to be in it, yet not of it, yet to be of it. I mean, finding the balance of knowing the truth, understanding it, doing something about it, and yet knowing everything's going to be okay. It's a challenging place to be. Yet I feel like I'm doing a pretty darn good job. I know you guys are doing a really good job. And I had to recently things with kids from some of the Telegram sites that I look at and keep updated on things. I had to back off a little bit because it was just getting so heavy and it was really bringing my energy down. So also trusting the kids, trusting that everything's going to somehow turn out okay. Yet I had to back off of it a little bit because I could feel myself getting into fear mode and just looking at everything. So striking this balance between watching it, being spiritual, trusting everything. It's challenging and it's beautiful. And especially for me right now, just feeling it, like, just physically, not being able to bend my arms. Oh my God. And knowing that there's spiritual aspects to that as well. It's tough. So for me, even before we get started, to just tell everybody again, you can do it. We're all going to do it. And what is so wonderful is I'm also seeing more people starting to wake up, even if they're different levels of that, starting to become more conscious that something is not right. And that is so exciting.
Well, I think talking about this is actually quite important. We're all going to make it. We're all going to make it. It's just that the great split that our friend Laarkmaa has talked about for years and years and years, more than a decade, we're not all on the same plane of waking up. We're not all on the same. They like to call this the great split, where people are waking up faster and faster. However, some people are not waking up. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They don't want to believe the things that we're talking about today. But it doesn't matter, because eventually we're all going to make it to the same place. We're all going to evolve. We're all going to transform. It's just that some people are taking the fast train or the fast boat, and some people don't know where the airport or the dock is even.
Right. And they're not looking for it because they're okay in the fear right now, or the program, because they don't know they're being programmed, and that's okay.
So I think you wanted to have Laarkmaa do the just be practice and give some positive reinforcement.
Yes. Does that sound good to you guys?
Sure.
All right. Y'all connect. We'll all connect because this is all about connecting. All right. Whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready.
Just be practice.
Hello, dear ones. We are Laarkmaa, and we are here to support you on your evolutionary journey because we love you. We want you to feel a sense of joy at the transition you are embarking upon. This is not a time to engage in fear whenever you see what is going on around you. Fear is the opposite of love, and you are beings of love and light. So we would suggest to you that you pay attention to everything that is going on, but keep your heart open and know that as a divine spark of light, you are connected to each other, you are connected to nature, you are connected to your interstellar friends, and you are connected to Source. With all of that connection, you have assurance that you will move forward as you are intended in your evolutionary journey. We are here to support that. We are here to sprinkle Pleiadian stardust whenever you ask for it. Now, there are many who would say that they have a belief system, that they should only have high thoughts all of the time. But you live on a planet of duality. If you do not look at, examine, and be aware of what is going on that is in the negative field, you cannot take action to know how you can participate in changing it. So while we think it is a wonderful thing to keep your thoughts in the high vibration as often as possible, that does not by any stretch mean to ignore the reality of what is happening in your environment on your planet. You must absolutely look at and accept what is happening before you can take action to change it and make it different. So you cannot run away in fear, or at the other extreme, hold on only to the light without seeing what's in the dark. Your job is to keep the balanced place of seeing the darkness, trusting that you have the power through joining with others to shine your light in to change and bring light into the darkness. This is how the positive changes will happen on your planet. Now we speak to many of you to give you some comfort about the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms you may be feeling. On the physical level, as your bodies receive more light from your sun and from the Pleiadian sun Alcyon, you will feel a difference. Tingling, perhaps. You will feel tiredness. You will feel digestive changes. You will feel some symptomology of more light accessing your cells as you become more crystalline in form and less carbon-based. But some of your symptoms are not from that positive radiation of light from the sun. Some of your symptoms are from the negative impact of the 5G irradiation that is causing you to be ill and unable to use nature's gift of oxygen to your bodies. And this is why we encourage you to investigate things that can mitigate these detrimental effects on your planet and stop them ultimately in any way that you can. Banding together, taking a stance to say this is not acceptable, and stopping the 5G satellites that are being boosted into space and the things like smart meters that are being put around your planet. One thing that you can do as an individual is to give up your smartphone. Smartphones are a form of artificial intelligence as a surveillance device. That is the only reason they were ever committed to bringing them into humanity. It was there intentionally to make you connected to artificial intelligence. What we will tell you about that is that they spy on you, but they trick you into believing they are your helpers. They make your life easier. They do not make your life easier. They ultimately take away your freedom and your ability to make conscious choices from your heart. So if you can make an individual choice to surrender your smartphone, you'd be taking a major step in helping all of humanity to move away from the 5G technology. We're not asking you to be uncomfortable or unhappy. We're asking you to see the larger picture of who you truly are as you are stepping into becoming cosmic citizens. And as we offer this possibility to you, because it is your right to do this as you evolve, we tell you this as a service to let you know what steps are possible and what you can do to participate in becoming the new human who is free to make choices for the highest good of all, who is free to connect with love and abundance, who is free to enjoy the beauty of life, and who is free to move through this transitional phase and move yourselves into crystalline form, ultimately emerging as rainbow body humans, the new humans. With these hopeful and positive words, we tell you, do not believe us. Trust in your own hearts. When you believe someone else, even if it is us, it's all in your head. But when you feel the resonance within your heart, then you know it is really true. So as we paint these pictures for you and tell you what we see from our perspective, we encourage you, trust your hearts. Your hearts know the path you're on traveling is a path of moving you to higher evolutionary potentials and higher consciousness as you become together the new humans. We love you. Good always.
Thank you. I do want to ask one question. In terms of giving up your smartphone, Okay, knowing that for me, I use it a lot for business, that it is very integral in your life. Okay, I'm going to show. Oh, well, let me hold on. Let me show. So I've got these little stickers to put on stuff. And knowing what you're talking about, like in terms of 5G, this is probably not going to do diddly squat. In terms of giving up your phone, can you give some advice to that?
Well,
Sure.
when Laarkmaa talks about this publicly, people are outraged or feeling discouraged that they can't navigate their lives without the technology that they use on a smartphone.
Yes.
And our
Young phones.
we've never graduated to smartphones. We continue to use a 3-4 G bandwidth.
This little simple phone or a flip phone that's not affiliated with 5G allows you to do all the things that you need to do with a telephone. Anything else you need to do, you can do on your computer. You don't need a smartphone to do it.
It's a convenience, Eden.
To trap you.
It's a convenience that we've been sold the idea that our lives would be too complicated if we step away from a 5G smartphone. How did we carry on business before 5G happened? We did. It worked. It's just that this, like other technological advances, makes us feel like we're at the cutting edge of innovation and the cutting edge of technology. But the big question is it worth harming ourselves to have an easier way to conduct business?
I would say, to simplify that question that Cullen just said, the bottom line is, what are you giving up to have more convenience?
Right.
Are you giving your life
right.
to have more convenience?
The amount of radiation that anyone receives from a 5G phone, and it doesn't have to be a 5G phone, it can be a 4G smartphone. The amount of radiation compared to a dumb phone is astronomical. The amount of damage that is being transmitted to someone's head and entire body is off the charts. And companies have lied for years. There's a system. You want to explain what it is?
No.
The SAR system?
No, you explain it.
Well, there's a rating system that's been in use for cell phones from the beginning. It's called the SAR rating, SAR.
And most cell phone companies, if you call up and ask, what is the SAR rating on my phone? Whoever you get on the line on the help desk will not even know what a SAR rating is. They'll go, star rating? What kind of star rating? They don't even understand the terminology of the word.
Legally, every cell phone that's manufactured internationally has to have a SAR rating, and it simply tells you how much available radiation is being absorbed by the human body.
And I will tell you this, Eden.
Yeah.
The standard of safety in the United States has a much higher acceptable SAR rating.
I'm sure.
Than Europe does. Europe's SAR ratings are keep it low, keep it 1 or below. America goes, oh, you can have 1, you can have 2, you can even have 3. It won't hurt you. Meanwhile, people are dying of brain cancer. Smartphones go in people's pockets all the time. What about all the female reproductive and male reproductive organs in that region that are being irradiated, causing problems? So these things don't show up instantly. They show up over time. Period now where we're creating the end product that's going to show up. So do you want to be part of that statistic, or do you want to say, I can be a little less involved with my smartphone, even if I have to do 2 more steps to get done what I need to have done?
Yeah, there's an interesting parallel here. I often talk about World War II. I have on this show with the 3 of us. So many things trickled down after World War II. So many
as well as star seeds. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the 1950s, so many gadgets were invented that we were told that it would make our lives easier. There were all these kitchen gadgets. There were television commercials and magazine commercials about the modern housewife will have so much leisure time if she uses an electric can opener instead of using a regular can opener. Simple things like electric orange juicers, instead of just grinding the oranges by hand, which people had done for, centuries. Your life will be easier if you have an electric orange juicer. The litany goes on and on and on. This happened right after World War II, and it has gone on every year. When a new gimmick is invented, everybody wants one. And guess what? During the Christmas season, there's always new gimmicks technologically that are introduced, and every child and every family has to have the newest gimmick, or they make their parents' lives miserable.
We are saddened on a daily basis when we were out in the world and we see mothers and fathers handing smartphones to children, even babies. It's like, don't you know what you're doing to your child?
We watch
sad.
these scenarios in restaurants where the parents who get together to talk to other parents don't want to be distracted by their kids. They want to have a conversation with their adult friends. So they give them these devices to play with, and they have no conscious idea that they're killing their children.
Not only that, they're teaching desocialization because children become involved with a screen rather than people. And so they become unsocialized. They never learn social skills because of that. We saw a 3 or 4 year old, I think we were somewhere in America, I don't remember where we were, who had on a t-shirt that said, text me, tweet me, don't call me.
Oh,
Wow. That young, and she's already indoctrinated into, I need instant something, don't bother me with human contact.
We were shocked. We were really shocked.
well, and it's all about disconnecting. It's all about disconnecting.
It's about convenience and speed. We haven't talked about speed on this conversation, but all of the technologies, and I mean all of them, have created a speed at which the human mind and the human body cannot continue to work at. We have sped ourselves up since the Industrial Revolution 300 years ago. We have sped up with every new invention. The trouble is, our psyches have not come along at the same rate as the inventions. We're still a species of ancient origin, ancient wisdom, but our minds have been controlled to increase the speed of everything. And I'm drawing this back to the use of smartphones. Smartphones make everything faster, easier for people.
I had the good fortune of meeting a delightful man by the name of Julian Gresser back in the 90s. And he wrote a book that was about hurry sickness and described exactly what Cullen is talking about, saying that our species is very, very sick from a disease called hurry sickness. And as that disease progresses, we make ourselves sicker and sicker as a society.
And that takes us to the wonderful subject of, are we going to believe and participate in nature, which is not sped up, or are we going to continue to speed ourselves up with each new technology? And there's no question about how nature makes us feel better than technology. Nature nurtures. Technology robs us of our life energy.
Okay. I think that's a good place to stop. And I'm going to throw out there to the listeners too. I was very, I was diligent in getting this phone. I got it 2 years ago and got a much lesser version. I didn't get the new version, yet I do need to check myself out more because it wasn't a 5G phone yet. So yeah, y'all investigate. Again, this is our lives. This is about ascending. This is about, again, don't listen to my phone. I don't keep it on my body. When I sleep, I keep it in the other room, yet also knowing that might not be enough. And that's okay. And all of this is okay, because we all just need to, just be and reconnect. You guys, thank you again so much. I care for you both deeply, and I thank you for just doing what you do, being honest, and being here for everybody. Thank you.
Well, we feel the same towards you. What you're doing with these podcasts is you're broadcasting the potentiality of people being able to be connected with more information that's positive and that's helpful. It may seem gloom and doom from one point of view, but it's also educational. It's also uplifting in many ways. And so we equally thank you for what you're doing by bringing this information to the public.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, we're going to sign off now, but if I can have you guys for just a second after this is done recording. All right, thank you everybody for staying and hanging out and listening. Good stuff, and accepting all that is, because that is part of the process. So cool of you to be here. I went from being off most social media to being on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, and you might be watching this on YouTube, Rumble, or BitChute. Or you might be listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm on over 19 directories at this point. So connect, comment, subscribe, like. Oh, and my intention is to have a new episode out Wednesday of each week. Oh, Lordy, more to come.